The inside scoop with Alex and Jeff.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Jeff Doss. Alex will be joining us in a little bit, but we are excited. We want to go ahead and get started right now because you guys are ready for Q&A. So we're excited to talk to you guys tonight and just answer your questions. So again, if you have questions in the comments, put them in the comments below. We have all kinds of time for you guys tonight to discuss, sport karate topics, maybe some things from the past, maybe some things in the future, some things that we are thinking about. Okay. Our favorite this, our favorite that. And I'm sure Alex and I are going to talk about some of those things ourselves and ask each other questions as well. So, enter below your name, guys. But first off, as you know, this is episode 264 Q&A, but we are sponsored by K-Talk Nationals, November 24th, 2024. It's going to be a big show in New York City. So K-Talk is one of the best tournaments on the East Coast. And again, always a great one to have to end your year in November. So for me, one of my favorite, I've been 2 or 3 times to K-Talk. One of my first years, I went and, we did a lot of our stuff like in the morning. The adult forums were done in the morning as well. And it was a great, well-ran event. Was awesome to go get food in New York City area, travel, it's a long day on the way home, but on a Sunday tournament, but make sure, plan well ahead in advance. All right. So if you guys are going to K-Talk, let us know in the comments below. All right. And do me another favor. Make sure you guys share the show right now. All right. As we are going to talk about our Q&A. So who has their first question? Go ahead and start putting those in the comments now. This is our Q&A episode. And man, we are so thankful for K-Talk to be a part of I'm sorry. I've been talking all day about my karate school. I almost said Grand Slam Martial Arts. Part of the Martial Arts Center Network and Inside Scoop. All right. So how has everyone's day been? Let us know below. Alex is actually probably doing work still right now as I am watching him talk. And I just finished as well. So we had a big martial arts weekend. Okay. So at my school, we had belt testing all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and also had holiday sales. Okay. On Sunday, Saturday, and Friday, the whole weekend. Had lots of private lessons and lots of sales going on. So myself and my fiance were at the karate school most of the weekend. Right. But what was cool was after those times, I always just make it a thing that we go and get dinner somewhere. Right. So for you guys that maybe work real hard or maybe do the same thing with your martial arts school, or even at tournaments, what are some of the favorite places that you go to eat? What are some of your go-to ones after a big weekend? Do you guys have a local place that you enjoy? For us, we love eating some type of Asian food. This time we went to Mizumi's downtown, got some ramen and of course a boba tea, so that is one of the ways that we have some fun and relax and wind down a bit. Okay. What about you guys? Tell us below some of your things. All right. For that. And again, guys, this is episode 264. question and answer. And I'm going to tell you, this is already longer than I thought I would have to be on the show by myself. So, so I would love to hear some of your comments. Let us know who is on. But all right, I'm going to start off with one of these things. So this is actually inspirations and rivals. So we ask these a lot for some of our guests that we have had on, like who were some of your inspirations, right? Who were some of your biggest rivals, okay, in the sport? All right. So I want to hear you guys answer those in the comments. Parents, maybe think about who your kids, inspirations are, or who their biggest rivals were, right? Oh yeah, man. So TJ said this too. Is nautical bowls when they're at. I kind of got them started with those nautical bowls. Nautical bowls is the best. If you guys have a nautical bowl near you, make sure you go there. It's some of the healthiest acai bowls you can find. Everything's organic, vegan, and the way they make it, it's just they mix a lot of, they have all the different. I guess mixes together, and then they change it up, right? I mean, they put them together instead of just acai and that's it, and then your toppings. They'll put the different mixes, and it's great. And oh man, honeydew coffee, that sounds good. TJ, good work with everything going on, man. Proud of you. All right, Jack Dark, what's up, my friend? I hope you're doing well. If you got a question for the show for Alex or I, let us know. All right. Yo, that's not funny, Mike. All right, so Mike, I've had the best record for most of the time. Me and Kevin. I guess Mike has been right under me. And right now, after night, I think he will have the best record because it looks like he might have already beat me. All right. Let us know how your fantasy drafts and how. Oh yeah, I lost. It's okay. I think I beat him by like 200 points in fantasy basketball this weekend. So my team will come back. Okay. So I think this is my second loss in a row. This is not good. So, but every now and then I have those in the league. And again, I've won 3 years in a row. I'm happy about that. All right. I'm happy about that. All right. So, yeah, I'll be back. Don't worry, Mike. I'll be back, man. But playoffs is going to be crazy. Playoffs is going to be crazy. All right. Inspirations and rivals. So for me, I've talked many times about, how I got started in martial arts. And then, my inspirations were people like John Valera, Seneca Luther. But also, guys, some people that really like inspire me, of course, were my coaches, right? So my instructors, Johnny Watkins, Lawrence Arthur, those guys. But also, for me, an inspiration, I'm going to share two fighters. And one was Sean Elliott. Sean Elliott is someone, from my area here, from Lynchburg area. And, not especially when he was really fighting, he was probably under 140 pounds and winning overall grands left and right around here, going against all kinds of different fighters. And so that was one of mine, I would say, as inspiration, and I got to train with him so many times, got to do seminars with him, and continue today to someone that still has that passion for martial arts as a coach, right? So he is someone for me who's my inspiration. My next one is another one from the DMV, and that is Ibi Abdallah. We've had him on the show, and Ibi is one of my favorite kickers there is, one of my favorite fighters there is. And but also he's just a good guy, right? I've been to his school several times to train for weeks. He has just this awesome personality, just really chill, really excited about it. He will just sit and talk to you about martial arts forever. And that's, for me as a young kid looking up to him, it was awesome to see. All right, we're going to add in my friend Alex. What's up, bud?
Oh, sorry about the delay. Well, you saw what I was doing in the background, and we're like, this guy is just talking a talk. I got to move on. Right?
Yeah,
Be honest.
yeah.
That's exactly what you thought.
For a Q&A show, we got to start on time, and we didn't. And so I'm just like, well, we got to get going. All right.
Insiders, my fault. My mom even just texted me. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Are you coming? Are you okay? Sorry, Mom. But I mean, at least glad that she watches the show all the time, though.
Exactly.
At least we got
Oh, here's the deal with our episode today, the Q&A. I will also have a sport karate confessions or martial arts confessions, because that's going to be. Whew,
I got one. Oh, I'm excited about one that I got for that too.
Yeah, I have one that may get me in some hot water. I may actually get a phone call, which is fine. I think
usually it's me.
Yeah, I know.
I gotta tell you how I can't. You insiders probably would guess, but you have no idea how many Tuesday mornings, or what used to be Thursday mornings, I would get text messages and be like, dude, how many texts have you gotten? How many calls have you gotten so far after what you said? And most of the times, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. Same.
Because to me,
I don't know what you're talking about.
What I say, not a big deal.
Not that big deal. Yeah. Oh yeah. The craziest one for me actually was when I wasn't even a part of, but everyone was calling me about you commentating INC and all the crazy things you said. I remember that. That was wild.
What was it that I said? I can try to remember. What was
it
that
we talked about on the episode.
It was so bad because I feel like Joe and I were just having a great time, literally just commenting on what we're seeing. Did I say something crazy?
I don't know. I think people didn't like that you disagree with the judges. Like most of the time, there's that, which they felt was.
I think I commented on someone's hair.
And then you comment on someone's hair. And I don't think it was in a mean way, or it was just you didn't make fun of their hair. That's what I heard, that you made fun of a little girl's hair. I was like, what are you thinking, dude?
I don't think I did. I think it was just you're trying to find something interesting and unique to talk about for each person,
So TJ's asking one of the first questions. TJ is asking because, again, TJ usually the only tournament he really goes to, he'll go to a few tournaments here or there. He'll go to some tournaments that are closed tournaments with AFCA, but he also lives in the Rhode Island area, so he's been to Ocean State many times. But he's asking for Grands, does CMX go against traditional in most tournaments? So yes and no, right? So if, say, like a local tournament where they got one Forms Grand Championship, they will probably do that, right? If you go to some regional circuits like TCT right now, right? The TCT is based off of, comes from the NBL, right? So the NBL would separate traditional and open. So you have an open grand and then a traditional grand. So a lot of times in the Southeast, you will see a lot of that happening, right? The other thing is, but for the junior competitors or even the adults in NASCAR tournaments, it will be separated, okay? But then they have an overall where they take the grand winner from each one and go against each other. So, yeah. All right. Troy, here we go. Are you ready for this one?
Ready to share? You want me to do it right away?
I
can't, because Troy also knows that the story he's talking about, it is literally 11 stories in one. And insiders know, you want me to just do it? I will do it as quick as I can.
It's not like we had that many right now, so I think a lot of people will wait so that way they can do this awesome story.
Here we go. We're going to go into it. All right. So
can you do it in 5 minutes? Can you do it in 5 minutes?
I will do my absolute best. I will talk quick and I will hit bullet points as much as I can.
Get rid of the fluff, Alex. Get rid of the fluff, bro.
You don't understand.
Summarize, man. Learn to summarize.
It's not like that.
That's what I have to tell my son.
There's 11 sub stories in this one event. All right.
Give us
I will. Okay, I'm going now. So it's 2006. NK, which exists of the main team at this point, is Hamid Feruzzi, BJ Carnahan, and myself. Jamie Cravens is on the team, and he always fights. But when we're in the final round, it existed of the three of us. Okay, and so at this point, Greg's not on the team because Greg's on Paul Mitchell. All right.
Right.
So see, even you're giving a thumbs up. So
I don't know how that happened.
so we win the Bluegrass Nationals. Okay. And there was a lot of great teams there. Like we beat JPM, we beat CJB, and there was, I mean, every great team was there except for All Stars. Okay. So we won. So we were just the school team that we really thought about. I had a great tournament. I won the heavyweight grand. I really thought I should have went on to the final fight of the tournament. Didn't, yada da da, didn't matter. When I go to get my prize money for us, Larry Tankston, we got to have him on the show. All right.
Yeah. That's going to happen.
He saw an opportunity. He saw wide eyes and just cheer and joy as I'm going to collect prize money. And he's talking to me like, wow, congratulations. Look at you. You're great. You know, you should go to the Battle of Chicago. All right. I don't know. Look at you. Of course, and we're giving away this. If you're going to win this here, of course you win my local tournament. And this is what we're giving away. So now he's got me counting money. So I'm like,
Right.
all right, we're in. Right. So I talked Hamid and BJ into it. And at the time, all of us is broke. Right. So we figure how we're going to get there is I'm not even making this up. We're going to drive Hamid's mom's car, right, from Minnesota to Chicago. Okay. Now, Chicago is being generous. It is called the Battle of Chicago, but it takes place in Hammond, Indiana. Let me repeat that. The Battle of Chicago takes place in Hammond, Indiana. That's
you didn't know
that,
but you didn't know
I did
that,
not
right?
know that. I didn't know that until I was like on the way. All right. And you gotta remember it's 2006, so smartphones don't exist. We're not
Right.
GPSing
Right.
anything. Maybe
Right.
if someone had a Garmin, that's what you needed then. We're still in
Yeah.
the MapQuest days, you know, if we were
Right.
getting places.
Right.
Right. TJ, you were born in Hammond. That's wild.
That's great.
You can't even make this up. So we're going. So anyway, the thing about Hammond is just like it's like a skip over town because it's right next to Chicago, but there's not anything major that's happening. So it's just kind of like it's the place where people go that you can get to as close as you can to Chicago, but everything's cheap, right? Because you're not actually in Illinois. Yada da da. So
Right.
we're going there, and so we're all broke. Our plan to get back, we pulled in just enough money to get gas to go there. Our plan to get back was the prize money we were going to win.
Right.
That's how we were going to get back.
That's how you're going to get back.
We didn't even have a place to stay. Right. So, because we're like, well, let's go the day before. You know, we're not going to make it. We're not going to get there on time because they start right away.
Yeah.
So I was there in the NK schools here. This is long before I had come here, even thought about would ever entertain a possibility of moving here. Fast forward. There was someone I was talking to, and I'm like, hey, maybe we, you know, and so come here. Right. We literally slept in the basement on her parents' basement floor. That's where we slept. And then got up and competed at a high-level martial arts tournament. Like, what in the heck are we doing? Right?
Yeah.
I'm literally skipping through a ton of stuff. Okay. So as we're on our way to which by the way, as we're on our way to the tournament, if anyone has met BJ Carnahan and really kind of hung out with him, you understand that BJ is a really interesting individual. So BJ is you probably don't know this, but BJ is an actual genius, right?
Yeah.
Like his IQ is actually in the genius level. Okay. Which you would go, all right, kind of makes sense because a lot of geniuses, like they kind of, you know, march to the beat of their own drum, which he does. All right. So you're like, okay, makes sense. But sometimes he just does stuff that you're like, how do you not get this? This is what? Right. He's just thinking about stuff that they would never think about. All right. He also likes to freestyle.
Yes, I've heard that.
He freestyled for like before we got to where we were getting to, like in Streamwood, Illinois.
Yeah.
He reached out for like 3.5 hours straight. Yeah, that was a thing.
I remember
That
you
was-
telling me that part.
That was the thing. Yeah, that was real. Right.
Next part.
So we get to the tournament, and BJ is like, "Hey, since we don't have a lot of money, why don't you talk to Larry Tankson and see if he'll just comp us?" And I'm like, "I really don't think that's going to happen." And
Right.
he goes, "You have to be the one to ask him, Alex." I'm like, "Why am I asking? This is the bad move. Like, I should not do that." And he's like, "Just ask." So sure enough, I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Tankston, would you?" And he laughs and he just pats me on the shoulder. He goes, "That's what the prize money is for." At that point, I realized we're not winning any prize money. We're not going to win nothing. Right now, the first thing I wanted to check when I walked through the door is Jason Borelli anywhere to be seen? And he's not.
He's not.
And I'm like, things are looking good. Number one, Jason
Right.
Borelli is not here. Great. This is good. Okay. Because if he was, forget about it. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, we're there. And then they decide we're going to do, team fights first. Okay.
Oh,
Like, right
all right.
away. We're going to do team fights. And then all of a sudden, Jason walks in the building. And we're like, what? Like, you weren't like, you got at the 11th hour, just dude comes in. All right. But there's so many little things. Like, but like, I'll say like different, like funny things that are like, I was just so like, I'm not used to. Right. But that's just different because like a lot of tournaments have things that people aren't used to. Right.
Yeah.
Like one thing that they did is we stopped the tournament that I thought was so strange. We just stopped the tournament in the middle of the tournament. Like, kids are in the middle of their forums. We're in the middle of fights. That just like someone got on the microphone and was like, "Everybody stop immediately."
Yep.
And I want all TAC, Tankston Academy Chicago, black belts. If you're in the building, I want you guys to line up right here. And I want you guys to look at everyone who he's promoted to black belt. And it was significant. It wasn't just significant as the number. It was who was there.
Who was there?
Right?
Yeah.
Davey Anderson, Dwan Brown, Marquin McDonald,
right?
Leroyce Tankston, right? Isaiah Miller, right? Everybody, right?
Yep.
So it was like, all right, this is pretty cool. Rob Jackson, right?
Yep.
All these guys are phenomenal martial artists. Rob Jackson's he's brother knowledge. That guy's cool. I like him.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of great people, but it was just so strange to me that we just decided to stop an entire tournament to do that. And I'm like, all right, well, all right, that's definitely a new one for me. Right. So now we're doing team fighting. And remember, the three of us never do MBL.
Right.
So we don't know that it's supposed to go lightest to heaviest.
Right.
All right. So we see Leroyce and two middleweights, like someone and Jason, right? I can't remember, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, well, Jason looks like the heaviest. BJ, does that mean you got him? And then they were like, no, this guy's heavier. And it might have been Duan. I can't remember. It was probably Duan, right?
Yeah.
So like Hamid is doing everything. Hamid's he's like winning, right? So stop, Jim. I don't want to hear about Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase can break an ankle right now.
Yo,
right?
that was nuts, man. That was nuts.
That's nuts, but don't derail me any more than I need to be, Jim. Right. So anyway, so he's just killing it, like literally dropping these back ridge hands from everywhere. But it was so funny is there would be like Leroyce would do things that are like, and Leroyce is an amazing fighter, but he would just do stuff that like we never thought was like a possibility. Like all of a sudden he would just do a spin drop sweep and Hamid's like on his back shoulders. All right. And then he would like, they're both on the ground and like Leroy's like ridge handed him in the chest. We're like, what the frick is this about? And they're like, point. We're like, point for what?
Yeah.
Have no concept that this is the way to fight. No idea.
Yeah,
Right?
ground fighting, man.
No concept. So I'm like, okay. And so then they send me out, and then Jason comes out. Right. And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought he's the heavier one. They're like, no. And I'm like, we're effed. Now I'm probably the best person to fight him at that point. But
Right.
it was just like, if Jason's on, like, for freaking get about it. Forget about it. Right. So Jason scores right away. Pow. I score immediately, like immediately, like you got me, bam, I got you back. Like, and I did it with confidence. Jason has done this to me on 2 different occasions where I just have literally no answer. Right.
Yeah.
And this one was just like a sheer, like, I just can't, I don't have an, you literally know everything I can do. You know where I'm going to be, when I'm going to be there. And I literally cannot touch you. Right. That's just like, you're just better than me today. Right.
Yeah.
And he beat me 11-1. Right.
Wow.
It was bad. At one point I look back and BJ's like, Alex, just run. I'm like, well, I got no vote of confidence, nothing. And he's like, dude, we just run. Just give me a shot. And I'm like, F you. And then you hear that and you're like, I'm gonna score right now. No, you're not. No, you're not.
You're not.
Against Jason Borelli at the Battle of Chicago, right? And then Larry tanks his turn. Like, get out of here. You're not scoring any points. You were lucky you got the one. Right. So BJ goes out there, he loses, and like, all right, this is how we start. This is not good. So then 3 different rings. They split us off into 3 different ones: light, middle, heavy. All right. Hamid's light, I'm middle, and BJ's heavy. So those, I just lose, right? But these 2 are about to start riots, right?
Yeah.
They're like, it's not, like, I just lose and like take my loss and like look at the greater picture and be like, I'm gonna say it like this. We brought a little light to the scenery, if you're picking up what I'm throwing down, right? So, and we don't know nobody, right? So, like, we're literally out there, just us. Like, we got nobody with us. So it kind of reminds me of a smaller, like, more tamed version of one of Mike P's stories, right?
Right.
Yeah, so tamer, because Mike P's stories, like, you can't even make that stuff up, right?
Right.
So I just lose, and I'm looking at this and like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do the best I can. Like, I'm not gonna start yelling and screaming, right? Hamid is yelling and screaming, right? Like, he's like literally, like, he thinks like this thing's gonna be fair, and I'm like, did you already saw like how this is gonna play out? Like, what makes you think like, oh, we're gonna call it fair now? Like, no, it's over. Like, stop.
Right.
Just like figure out gas money. I don't know. We'll sell some. I don't know. Right. So he's out there, and then it gets to the point, like, the center referee's like, because he gets railed in the nuts, right?
Oh,
like
okay.
a couple of different times. And so the refs are like looking at each other like, is this legal? Is this okay? And they're like, I don't think this is right. And then Larry steps in and he goes, no, if you want to call it, you call it. And he goes, well, Hanshi, I don't know. Am I supposed to call it? And he goes, call it. It's like, oh boy, this is not going well. Like, literally, like, everyone's screaming that because Hamid's better than everyone in this division. Like, visibly, he's better. Jason Borelli's in my division. I'm not better. Right. So that's the only thing we knew. Looking at this is we like, yeah, you can, Hamid, you're not winning, Alex. All right. So that's what we knew. So Hamid loses. All right. Well, he wins his division. Actually, he does win his division. I don't know. I don't even know how. Right. So BJ is fighting one of the largest humans I've ever seen. All right. And I've seen BJ like drop someone with a punch to the chest that I'm certain gave them a concussion. A punch to the chest, right? Previously. So BJ's burying his rear hand into this person, and they're just like, give me more. And all that does is piss him off. And now he's doing more. Now he's going nuts, and he's not getting no call. I mean, this person is just walking their body parts into it. They're not hitting him, right? But he's just laying it, and there's just like no call. And now he is livid. And now we got 4 people in the ring as well. I'm like, this is not like, I'm like, BJ, just take the L. Let's just get out of here, man. This is not going well, right?
Right.
So everything's done. And now we're like, what the heck do we do now? What do we do? So somehow we decide we have this much money left. It's not enough money to get home.
Oh God.
Let's go get some food, because that's intelligent, right? So we sit down. We're sitting in this diner type place, and we're like, what the hell are we going to do now? And you know what their plan was? You know what their genius plan was? Hey, Alex, why don't you call that girl and see if she'll give you some money so that we can get home? And I'm like, listen, that girl's, I didn't say that too. When we were staying, she's special kind of crazy too. Like crazy, right? Like it's like nuts, right? So I'm like, you want me to go to Psycho Crazy and ask her for money?
Right.
Like this is so horrible. So that's what we did. And that's how we got home.
So it worked.
No, it did not work.
But you got the money at home.
Yeah. Oh, and then BJ hit a bird, a flying bird. Like, you ever done that before? You're driving and you hit a bird. That's like hard to do.
It is hard to do. I know. You know, the craziest thing is when a bird, like a vulture, is like you're driving and it has like a dead animal, and then it flies over you and part of that dead animal falls onto the hood of your car. Yeah, that's happened to me before.
No, I can honestly say I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, and that's happened to my mom before too. Like within a month, like both of us, that happened.
Let's get into this real Q&A. None of this. Although it was kind of a fun derail, I suppose.
That was fun. And he said, yes, DJ said he hit a bird on a motorcycle. Ugh.
That might kill you.
Yeah, I know.
Because like it's not the motorcycle hitting the bird at that point, it's you.
Yeah.
Like when we hit a bird, it was like the grill of the car. Yeah. Like when you hit the bird, like it's your chest or your helmet or your face. So
that's crazy. That's crazy. All right.
You ever drove a motorcycle? You ever rode one?
Nope.
I don't do motorcycles.
Me neither. Remember I won one and I sold it?
Oh yeah, that's right. But you were pretty young.
I was 18. Yeah. I'm keeping these legs. Oh, have you adjusted your best kickers list this year? We will probably do that to finish.
Yeah, we can do that to finish the year.
We're gonna do that maybe December. Maybe that'll be like our New Year's episode or maybe our Christmas episode. Maybe we'll do that. That would be
That's
fun.
not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think here's what I can say about that is because my last one in 2019, that's when we did it, right? It did not. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
All right. Zach Winder and Enrique Latona were honorable mentions. At that point, they were.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I think Enrique definitely would be up there. Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely assume that those names will be up there.
Yeah. We obviously didn't have like a Katarina on there.
That's a good one. But then I got to look at that, and she's a different kind of kicker, man.
I know. So
it's
different doesn't mean bad. All right. So let's look at this. So, man, he's got all kinds of. So we answered about adjusted. We will do this. That's something that maybe we could do to end of the year. That would be fun. Or maybe open the year. All right. Favorite Christmas movie.
Favorite Christmas movie is so hard.
Yours.
It's probably Jim Carrey's Grinch.
Okay.
You know, there's some underrated ones that I dig. Like, you ever seen the movie The Family Stone?
Yes.
I like that movie.
That's a good movie. I agree. That's a really good one.
But really, the real answer is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. That's the real answer.
That's probably either 1A or 1B for me. So yeah.
I mean, the one I watch the most is definitely The Grinch. The best one, the right answer is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
See, I'm an old school guy. I like
how old school you are. That one's better.
I don't care.
I
like
watch Bing Crosby's White Christmas.
Yes, Bing Crosby, my friend. Bing Crosby. Even though there's
which one? Wait a minute. So if you're doing that, which one's better? Would you rather do Bing Crosby's White Christmas, or would you rather do It's a Wonderful Life?
For me, it's White Christmas. I thought you were gonna say or Holiday Inn's pretty fun too, but it's pretty much the same
They're
movie.
basically
But
the same movie.
yeah, what one isn't a Christmas movie? All right.
Elf,
Does
the
Chip
Elf
use the
video.
word awesome? No, I don't use the word dawsome. Okay. All right. Let's go with Sam's. All right. I have a question. Which state produces the best for each forms, weapons, and fighting?
The easy
Um,
answer,
let me
which
say
may
for
not
you.
be the right one, the one everyone will say, which is it may not be right, but everyone will just go Florida.
No. What he's saying? Oh, you're saying for all three? I think
Yeah,
he's saying each one. Like I
I
don't think
know.
he's saying for overall, but you're gonna say Florida for all of it?
No. I'm not saying that's it. I'm saying that's without thinking. If you were to say best state right now, boom, and you gotta say
Yeah,
some, you
a
would
lot
say
of people
Florida.
say a lot of people will
But
say Florida.
let's think about it. And I think what you got to think about is you got to think about the coaching, right? Because that's what's going to make it the best,
Right.
right? Because how often was Canada better than almost any state that we had?
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
Especially with weapons. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Hmm.
It's okay. Let's just say currently, right now.
Yeah. Right now.
I would say forms and weapons. I mean, we might have to say Tennessee. It's either going to be Tennessee or Wisconsin for me.
Oh, that's true. With weapons, yeah. I mean, you have the Presleys, you have Dawson.
That's it.
Yeah.
So it's
you have
either
the
so we're either
Smalls.
looking at like the competitive edge with Tennessee or Infinity with Wisconsin.
Yeah, but a lot of those guys aren't from Wisconsin, you know?
Dude, he's got his Mike Welch's stables deep.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I would say you look at Florida right now with, just look at how many won
Okay, so that's
Grand.
true. So that's where we got to look at it. So
I
then you
mean,
look at it. Maybe the state itself is actually
yeah.
a little bit. Yeah, maybe it is back to Florida.
Yeah, I would say that could be, honestly, another one right now, especially with forms. New Jersey has a really good competitors. You're talking about
Maybe that's
Castro, you're talking about Amanda Duarte, you're talking about Amber Rutherford, and I'm sure there's some other ones too. But just those three alone, ISK world titles, like
Brett's
that's huge.
probably right. It should be like a 6-part.
Yeah, it's just a 6-part series. But if we're talking about right now, I mean, it's hard to say Florida isn't, especially with who all is there right now. Yeah, I mean, I mean,
also want to because I don't know this so well. I'm not in on it. You visit it enough times, you spend a little bit of time there, but you don't really know what is the New England area like. The Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, like what do they consider themselves as? Because that's like basically Florida. You know what I mean? As far as the size.
The size, yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I think a lot of them consider themselves the New England area instead of I mean, they represent their state, yes, but I think
you go from Rhode Island to Massachusetts in a day, in an afternoon.
Correct.
So
yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of great competitors there right now, that are competing on the circuit, on the national circuit. So, all right, keep giving us more, guys, more questions. Yeah, TJ says he considers it New England.
Right. So if it's New England, if you were to just say that,
yeah,
maybe that might be the. Is that the best for fighting right now?
I wouldn't say for fighting.
I don't know. I don't know if it is. What is the best area, state, or region for fighting? Detroit area is not bad because they got all those women too.
Yeah. Detroit would be good. Florida, it's those two.
So that's what I mean. Like it might be just your easy answer, but it also might be the right answer.
Georgia is a good one as well.
Okay, never mind. Here we are forgetting about Georgia.
Yeah, and then yeah. I mean those would be the main ones. I'm sure we're forgetting somewhere that has a big crew that But yeah. All right. So what? Let's see. Yeah. All right.
You got
We're
one?
gonna go into Sport Life Confessions, and then while this happens, we're gonna have
Yeah,
you guys do
keep
some.
bringing in the questions, and then we'll come into this.
All right, so you want me to start since I kind of have one?
I got
I'm
one. Mine won't be as like
long.
I don't feel like mine's gonna be as like memorable as yours, but it is a legit confession,
So you do
right?
that. We'll answer Shay's, and then we'll go to mine.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's
And
good.
then, yeah.
So early on into my um national tournament or like traveling tournament like tenure,
Mhm.
I did not know that people had different names for the same move.
Oh,
I was so oblivious. I thought that this is just the name for this kick. Everybody calls it this. Nobody would ever have a different name for this. It was completely lost on me. So sometimes people would say like, "Oh man, that's a good yada yada kick," and I'd be like, "I have no freaking idea what they're talking about. I think they're talking about the wrong person."
yeah.
And so they would say like, "You got a good outside crescent kick," but I have no idea what that is because to me, that's a wheel kick, right? I
Mm,
would call it a jump spinning wheel kick.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they would call it a jump spinning outside crescent kick. And I'm like,
Right.
stop using so many words, right?
Yeah, exactly. I hate that.
Right. So like stop using so many words. So I'm like,
Like what TJ's saying for us in Africa and American freestyle, a lot of people will say
"Mm,
like a front leg round kick. We would say flip kick is what we always call it. Like it's a flip kick. You flip it
you
out there
called it
fast.
a
Just flip
what?
a flip kick. Yeah. And then later on, like in the system, that's what's called flip kick. And then back leg round is a roundhouse. So you have your flip kick and your roundhouse. That's what that's called. Yeah. So a lot of people in Virginia, you will hear that. But then years later in California, everyone's calling the flip kick the thing that everyone from proper was doing, where they would lean down and flip their back foot at your head,
That's
right?
the problem is when you
Yeah.
start doing that and then you start saying that like, oh no, this is the kick, but then you're like, wait, isn't this the kick? And then oh, it's even worse when you start getting to tricking, right?
Oh, I know, really bad.
Tricking is way worse because they just make kids just make shit up, right? All right.
Right. So
Like we would call like in our era, Jeff, when we were competing, so many kicks and tricks were
and
being created
and they
in
have
that time.
multiple names. Yeah.
And then we would make the names in that time. So like
Right.
we knew what it's called because the people were around. They made it, right?
Yeah.
We're doing it like right after they do it. Like, okay, so we know it. I remember teaching, there was these, I probably mentioned them on the show before. There was these three Indians, Sibi, Rishi, and Varun. They were students of mine.
Mhm.
They tricked better than anything I could have ever dreamed of tricking, right? They were phenomenal. They're very good, right?
Right.
And they're like, Dingman, man, you got to do that Parfusio. I'm like, what the hell did you just say?
Yeah.
What'd you just call me? Right? And they're like, no, you got to do that. And I'm like, I'm not making this up. We probably did this back and forth. And I'm like, I've never done anything like that. And he goes, yeah, you did that part. I'm like, listen, don't call me that again. It sounds like a bad Italian pasta is what it sounds like. Right. So I don't know what this thing is. It turns out he's talking about a double leg 540.
Double 540. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Parafuso. Yeah.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Right.
I know someone else asked me the other day. I'm like, what? What's that? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's another name that you guys called for because
But-
I think that's the actual capoeira name for it is why.
Okay. Sure. However, but them just like it had a name. It already had a name. Right. So you changing the name and then looking at us like we're boomers, like, no. You're the one who decided to change the name of something that already had one, right? And then
Dude,
look at
there's
me
so
like I had
many
two
like that.
heads. That's what I'm saying.
Especially now in
So-
tricking, it's all the stuff's different now, like everything.
this
So
started as
yeah.
a confession and turned into a gripe.
right. Well, all right. Well, I'll get into one of those too. This is so like what so in 2000 or 2001, right? I did the combo where I went pop 720, then I do a what I call a pop hook kick, which is pretty much like a standing wheel kick.
Mm-hmm.
And then before I put that foot down, I jump and switch and do a round. Before I put that foot down, I jump and switch and do another spin hook. So it's like pop, 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 right?
Didn't David Douglas do something like that?
No.
he did it. He did it differently.
Yeah,
No,
this
but
is
I know what you're
that,
talking about, which
that.
is way
And then
cool.
I would do an outside sweep into a, what's it called? I guess like a can opener type thing, right? And then a jump outside, 360 outside crescent into a split, right? So that was my big combo that I had, right? So
I can picture it right now.
but for me, I just caught it. I do pop 720, TKD kicks. You know, that's just what I call it, TKD kicks, because that's what it was. It was like Taekwondo kicks. You know, because that's what it looked like to me that I was doing. It's like, oh, just do this like they do in Olympic Taekwondo, right? And then what's funny is then later on, people were saying, oh, no, that's an Audubon. And
I've heard this.
And the thing is, though, what I knew as Audubon was actually the original name for Cheat 720, like a step over Cheat 720 was what.
Oh, yeah, that is what we called it.
Yeah, we called it an Audubon. So then people did this. But the thing is, when I ask people what an Audubon is now, they don't do it the way I did it. And I was the first one to do it. So people just spin, switching their feet, and then doing a hook kick, right? And so now I'm like, but that's not the way you do it, right? So about 6 months ago, my son, who has been out of martial arts like 4 years, but he's like, he comes and watches one of my private lessons. He's like, why does he just do the wombo combo to this? And I was like, wait, what?
What did he just say?
Wombo combo. And he was
wombo combo.
Like the 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was like, you know what? We're going with the wombo combo because I made it up years ago. And you know what? Everyone switched it and made it. And Audubon isn't even that. And so when I tell people Audubon and I show them the way I do it, they're like, well, that's not an Audubon. So you know what? I'm going wombo combo. I'm taking my move back. I'm taking my move back. All right.
You know what that reminds me of right there is, no shocker, I also like to listen to NBA podcasts. Right. That's not surprising anybody.
No shocker.
Right. So, but I only like to listen to like actual NBA players and like entertaining people. Right. So like I like listening to Gil's Arena, but I also like to listen to Rasheed Wallace. You know what he calls Victor Wembanyama? He calls him Wamba Wamba.
Wamba Wamba.
Because he doesn't want to say his full name. He just calls him Wamba Wamba. So messed up.
What's funny is that, so if you listen to Rampage Jackson's podcast, right?
Okay.
He does that with so many names. Like
that checks out. Yeah,
and I can't even like the other day he was talking about the welterweight champion Bilal Muhammad, but he was calling him, I'm not even gonna say what he was calling him. It was so like he literally messed his name up to call him, let's just say Pull Out.
What?
Yes, that's what he said. Yeah, Pull Out Muhammad. That's what he called him.
Stop.
Yeah. So Rashad, I mean, Rampage takes the cake on that one. All right. Shay, are we talking most underrated currently or of all time? All time, that's gonna be hard. Let's probably
what was the question?
Most underrated competitor or performer?
I think
I mean, that's a very tough one. We probably
it is really hard.
Top 3 most underrated, but there are some people that are probably competing now that's probably the most underrated in their career, or maybe like they didn't achieve certain things, but you would put them at that same high level as people that did because of the impact they made. And so to me, that's an underrated competitor, you know.
So one of the things that I think of when I think of that, when you say of all time, my mind goes to who should have won but was robbed more times. And the first name for that pops in and should for everybody is Jack Felton. Right?
Right. Yeah.
But I don't even go to that because that's easy because Jack's not underrated.
Right.
He's not. Jack is literally one of the greatest fighters of all time. Okay. So you can't really say that. Okay. But there are certain people that I'm like, that dude should have won.
Yeah.
way more. All right, that or so.
I mean, one I think of.
Go ahead.
I think
Name
it's
a
just
forms competitor and a fighter.
well, I'll say a fighter first, but
All right, go for it.
someone that I think everyone really enjoyed watching him fight, and a lot of times like, oh, dude, he got robbed, and that was Q. You know, like Marcus Dumoulin is someone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like I think
So good.
dude was so
So
freaking
good.
good, so ahead of his time, and that he had so many fights that like you're like, dude, he hit him with that spin kick, he hit him with that blitz, he hit him with that, you know. So yeah,
Dude, I'm telling you, he was. It was 1 year ahead of AKA. Sean just brought his people over to my school, and number one, I don't. How does Sean find like the massive Filipinos? Like Filipinos aren't supposed to be big. How do you find Sean? How do you find the only ones that are 6'3"? Like they don't even make them 6'3", right? Like how is this possible? Right?
it's true though.
It is true. Both of those things are true.
Uh,
They're all maxed out at 5'7", yet for some reason you find the ones that are 6'1" to 6'3". How is that a thing? I don't
Right.
understand. So, but no, they came to school. We were training, and I made sure like everybody knew, like, hey, we all got to fight tomorrow.
Right.
Okay, so go fast. Don't die. Don't die today. Okay.
Right.
But don't go light, because when you go light, because sometimes when you just kind of like walk through the motions, there's no point in doing that, because then
Right.
like all you're gonna do is just solidify that habit,
Right.
and sometimes that's when injuries happen as well.
Yeah.
Is when you're just kind of like coasting, right? So we don't do that. So if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. You're gonna fight like you're fighting. We're gonna go hard, but we're not gonna die. Okay.
Right.
He's Q's freaking good, man.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Q's good.
Q is. Yeah.
I remember looking at one of my guys, Dominic Kragel. He's a very talented fighter. His dad is the best coach I've ever had, by the way.
Yeah.
Then that's no downside to like Conroy or anybody else. He just knew me, and he just knew what I was thinking at every moment, and he would just talk to me. But anyway, talk to Dominic, and then he and I had like a you ever have those people you have like non-verbal conversations with each other. You just look at each other and you're like, the heck is this guy on? You're right. But you never actually said anything. Yeah, we have one of those, right? Yeah, Sean's big.
Did you have someone else that you were going to say?
Yeah, I do, because I think of like guys that are like fan favorites, and this one is a forms competitor, but then became fighter. Will Valentine.
Yeah.
Will Valentine is a name few people will remember. Right. That unless you were there in that moment, you would not understand. So, and I feel like Will had all the talent, all the skill, and just for his forms, did not choreograph his routines the best. Right? He had moments where he would like set something up like, this is going to look awesome when I do a double leg from one side of the ring to the other with like no setup. I'm just going to jump and then just fly. Right. The great Ross Levine is on, and you're right. Ross could fight too. And that's right where I was going to go next. But Will he just wouldn't set it up. Like he would just like do like kind of like a hand combo just for the sake of doing it. And it wasn't his best. And then he would just kind of like shuffle and then just stand there, and then just would do something like out of this world. And you're like, well, that's freaking crazy. Right. Yeah. But then later on, he was like, I'm going to start fighting. And as a super lightweight, this dude who was already short, right? How tall would you say Will Valentine was?
He was at least
5'5", maybe
5 foot. Well, I mean, I was taller than him. I'm 5'5", so I was taller than him.
You're taller than him, so he's probably at 5'3".
5'3", yeah.
Okay, so let's say because he's taller than Robbie. Is he taller than Robbie?
I don't know.
I think he is.
So then maybe he's 5'4". All right, we'll say that. We'll go right in the middle.
All right. So he's there. So, but he would fight, and like when the way he would fight, he would like make himself shorter, right? Like I remember seeing that, like he would like get down like lower and lower, and be like,
Yeah.
I remember thinking in the moment, like, Will, where are you going out for? You're already there, right? There's
Right.
no reason to make yourself shorter, right? And just like these ridge hands that he would just be dropping on people was so cool, right?
Yeah.
And I just think the reason why he didn't have more success with that, he just needed more reps, and he was so used to like winning divisions,
Yeah.
right away, like in forms, like he would like, all right, I didn't win my division this time, give me 2 more tournaments, I'm going to be winning my divisions. And sometimes in fighting it can be easier, but like it's a different learning curve. You're not just doing like a different division, you're doing basically a different freaking activity. Like give yourself compete, come back the next season, and then expect to be winning. And I just don't think he did, but he became like a competitive swimmer, right?
I don't know about that.
I thought he did, which is also crazy because competitive swimmers are like 2 feet taller than him, right? Because how tall is Phelps?
Crazy.
Isn't Phelps like 6'6"?
Something like that.
Something like that, right? And he's not.
That's wild. That's wild. All right. So we talked about those underrated ones. I'm trying to think of anybody else that probably needs to be shouted out. There's a lot.
What about you, Ross? Who would you say? Ross Levine. This is awesome that he's in.
Yeah.
Who would you say is one of the best, most underrated competitors of all time?
Ross. Most underrated competitors of all time.
No. He's talking about Will Valentine. He said he was in the medical field, then joined the academy. I believe he's still with the NYPD.
Nice.
Well, all right.
Well, all right then.
Not a competitive swimmer then.
I don't know where you got that. All right.
I don't know either. I thought I saw something that said that, but that must have been years ago. Who knows? Maybe he's also great at other things. But Ross, who do you think? Who's one of like a very underrated competitor of all time that pops in your head? Damian Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Is underrated. 100%.
So true.
And I hope that people look at him now as a coach and accurately rate him as a coach, because he's very, very good.
He's one of the best. Yep, he is one of the best. And honestly, to me, he's the reason why I feel like Florida, like, is if not the best state, but number 2. For really all 3 of them. Like his school has high level people that do forms, weapons, and fighting. And that's just him putting out what he's doing.
Well, and that's one of the things that he said when he was on the show, is he was talking about not just creating a good competition team or school, is the culture, right? Yep. Competitive culture.
Right.
But
he's
even
going to
just
be coming on sometime soon as well. Damon's going to be back on soon as well. We'll probably have somebody else on with him as well. So
I'll say it now before he's on the show then.
Yeah.
But Ross, you were there. I think Ross, you were the center referee for this match. I think you were. I could be wrong. But I remember a Pan Am's where Ross couldn't fight. I think Ross had an injury of some kind. I believe it was 2010. And Damian Rodriguez is fighting Raymond Daniels, and I believe it's for like a team fight. And Damian wins. And I'm like, how did we just watch this happen? We just watched this happen, right? Yeah, it's Miami, but no, it doesn't freaking matter, right? No. Ray doesn't enter in a match, and he's going for it, right? He doesn't enter in a match not trying to win. So I don't care what kind of win you think. If you want to downplay it, you got to win on Ray. That should mean something. You'll remember that. Other people should.
Let's talk about that too, because at that time there were only a few people that really, when they fought Ray, looked like they believed they could win. Ross is one.
Let's look at 2010. How many people can really say that, like, hey, I beaten Ray that year? What's Ross saying?
He's just saying that's a hell of a memory.
Yeah, like, he did. Oh, it was a hamstring tear. That's right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not crazy. I was right. Right. Yeah, you had a hamstring tear, but you were still all over that ring, though. I will say you were active. You were an active ref and appreciated.
2010. Yeah, I mean, to me, the ones that I saw that beat Raymond that year, I believe that was the year that Trevor beat him at Kumite. And then Ross.
Who even had the possibility? Who even
Right, it
who
was
even
it
had
was
the
Ross,
possibility? Ross,
Trevor.
Trevor,
I always put
Jason.
I feel like Willie always, especially at that point there, at that time, that was Willie Hicks' probably best time.
Okay, so that's 4.
Jack was still on the way up, you know, so those 4.
Had he done it to that point though?
I don't think he had done it to that point. So he was
So
still
look
pushing.
at that point. Can we say
Yeah.
that?
That was who was really fighting too, you know.
But let's list the people who had even done it to that point. So look at we're talking Trevor, Ross, Jason Borelli.
Yeah. Yeah.
Willie.
I thought Willie beat him at one of those times, but he might have
Willie.
been late. Yeah.
That's it. Damon's not competing. He wouldn't have beat him that year anyway.
No, 2010, no.
Nobody.
Yeah. So
Jason Grenier. As I said it,
yes.
Ross types it. Jason Grenier is the only other person.
Right. Yep.
And it's in the what makes it so hard is it's the way that like full circle, because at that time 2010 it was full circle. The way that they would match up. Look at that freaking matchup though.
No.
Because it would be Ross, Hamed, Jason Grenier, Cass Sigmund, right?
Yeah. Coach.
Speaking of, the coach himself jumps in. This is like a who's who of who's jumping in the chat. What's happening, Coach? We were just talking about, just randomly, Coach, by the way, like at one point we were giving Damian Rodriguez some flowers because that's who Ross Levine said was a very underrated competitor. And we were just going through, like, at that time, like, who really could have been someone else that beat him that year. But, Coach, we want to hear from you, too. Most underrated competitor that pops in your mind, right?
Yep.
All time, right? I'm
underrated.
so interested to hear what Coach says, all right? So, most underrated competitor of all time that pops in your head. Doesn't have to be cemented in stone, but just one that pops in your head.
One that pops in my head would be when I think of Coach, and I don't know if he would say this person, but I just think because of the era, I always think of Alberto Montrod as someone that's underrated. And a lot of people, I think in the grand scheme don't know, about him as much.
Freddie LePan is underrated. You know who I thought you were going to say, Coach? I thought you were going to say Jerry Prince.
He probably, that's another one he would probably say as well.
I thought he was going to say Jerry Prince.
Yeah.
Right. Jerry,
Freddie definitely is, man. And Freddie, I saw him at Quebec this year, still looking in great shape, still fighting awesome. Love that guy.
That dude is, I think he still has like 3.5% body fat.
Something like that, maybe less. It's insane.
It is crazy. Like, I have my body fat and Freddie's body fat, right? And I got a little extra. Dude, he is shredded. Like, people think he's just little, but he's shredded. He's shredded.
Well, yeah. All right, I'll go back to the other one.
Yeah, let's look at what Ross said. At one point, Full Circle had myself, meaning Ross Levine, Jason Grenier, Hamed Ferruzzi, Rene Perot, Ryan McGriff, Damian Rodriguez, Cass Sigmund, Nico Negron. You're right.
Yeah.
I want to know though, guys. What? Jesse Thornton's a great.
Yeah, Jesse Thornton was great. Yeah, there's so many different ways they could match that up. They added other people too, but I think that was at the end. You have Justin Ortiz in there. You have
before he popped off.
Yeah, Houston was a really great
Houston
fighter.
Thomas.
Yeah, there was a lot of great guys, man, that were a part of that team. So a lot of fun to watch.
How many? Let's just Ross, Coach, you're both here. As long as we're talking about it, how many times or teams really even beat you guys in team fighting?
Yeah.
Sure, an individual for like an overall, like a Trevor Nash could be the fighter at the end, or a Jason Borelli can be the fighter at the end and beat everybody. But like, what team? Like, I think All Stars has gotten I think they gotten a couple, I think, but I think overall, I don't think that they beat you guys that many times. Did JPM ever beat you guys? I don't think they ever. I don't think they ever did.
At that point, yeah.
You know, and that's what you got to think when you think like a top team, like they never won, never won. Like that's definitely a thing.
That's definitely a thing. Oh man, there must be really thinking, or you know.
Well, but chime in, Jeff. You go into your confessional, and then we'll chime into that.
A whole nother thing. Now I may have to do that. Yeah, and he said they were the first team to beat the All-Stars. I know that they definitely were.
Yeah,
I remember
and then
that.
did it again and again and again.
Yeah, and it became a trend, you know, and it was just
and of course, you know, you get a Raymond Daniels led team, like they've got always that is something to fear because how many people match up against him, right? Here's the best match. You know, the best matchup against. Here are the best people that match up against Raymond Daniels, right? In its history, okay, that are top fighters. It's Jody Tenshin. He gives him a really good shot.
Yep.
All right, Trevor Nash, Jason Borelli. Okay.
Yep.
And then the other ones are on Full Circle at that time. Right? Ross Levine and Jason Grenier.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of someone. Well, I mean, what's crazy is I think it was something like until 97 Super Grands, Ryan Huntley beat Raymond. I think it was like 15 times.
Oh man, those are junior years.
I know. That's what I'm saying. But no, that's what I mean. That's how crazy it is. 15 times, and then once he beat him that year for the team, he never beat Raymond again. Like once, like things like that are cool to me, right? Just to show the true development of a fighter, because people think of Raymond or even anyone else, they just think of them at their highs, right? They don't think of them at their lows and when they had a hard time beating someone, right? Let's think about the video we talk about all the time is Ross dropping Jack, right? With that sidekick. I think that was the first time.
Stick around, Ross. Stick around.
Two
sidekicks, not the sidekick.
I know.
Two sidekicks.
But you know, that was like his first time beating him. Like that's the thing. Like that was.
Is that for real?
Yeah.
Ross, can you confirm that? Because you don't forget nothing. Was that really that time in 2013?
A long time where he didn't beat Jack for a long time. And so it was either that weekend or like the term before that where that happened. It was that year that he beat Jack for the first time, that same year. So
and Coach was in that ring too. He was one of the refs.
He was one of the refs, yeah. It was him and Marissa Mayer. And I can't remember who the other corner was right now off the top of my head.
It's just so crazy. You never know what moment, like what match is going to be one that you talk about for 10 years.
Right.
And that one we've been talking about for 11, you know?
Right. That division was crazy.
No, I am going to downplay Brett. I am going to downplay the 16, 17-year-old division because there's 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds. I'm not downplaying the excitement and the skill level. I'm just saying, like, when Jeff says, like, oh, Ryan Huntley beat Raymond a ton of times, you know, but then when they were kids, but then when it mattered, when they were actually adults, that's like saying
you're saying that, but but Raymond probably was an adult when he was competing with him because of the age rule back then.
When is his birthday? Raymond's birthday is in April.
Yeah, so he was probably competing 17 that whole year. He was 18. But anyways, by the end they were 17, 18. Yeah. So, but what we always, the reason why we go back to that group, because look at that group. Look at that group of 16, 17-year-olds. Okay. Trevor, Ryan, Raymond, Jason, just right there. You have, you know, just Hall of Famers, you know, and guys that won all the time, especially that next year. Like the first year, all those guys moved up to adults. They're all winning overalls, right? And then you have, I'm sure there's other ones I'm not even remembering or mentioning when, and they've all done, you also had like, no,
Well, let's stay on that for a second, because I want to lean in. There's something else. I remember that there was like I think there was an interview that Jotty Tension had one time, and I think Jotty got this answer wrong.
Yeah, Thomas was underrated.
Yes. So someone asked Jotty, I think I'm getting this question and answer right. That like, hey, a lot of the people who are winning, like they're like in their mid 30s, but like all the kids, like kids in their early and mid 20s, like they're not even winning the tournaments. It's still all the guys who were winning like 10 years ago. What is it? And Jotty gave an answer, which is true, that like, hey, like all these instructors, they're just teaching their people to be just good enough to teach, not to be true champions. And I think it's actually a little bit more layered than that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, well, number one, let's look at who those 30 plus people were, right? Who were the names, right? It's still the same people you just listed off right now.
Right.
When you say oh, it's Ross Levine, in his 30s that's winning, or it's Ray, or it's Jack, or it's Trevor. Like these are anomaly type of people.
Right.
They're crazy. Jotty was beating everybody when he was 40, right? And
you know what else?
At that time, that was crazy.
I'm going to go to something. I just hit me. So do you remember the year that they started making face masks and chest protectors mandatory? 2000.
For like juniors.
Yeah. So 2000. So think of that group. Right? So what was the last year that we just talked about that those guys were in juniors? 97, 98.
Oh, that's
those guys. All those guys in that group, right? And then I'm not even saying the ones that were still, but even in 2000, you're talking about people that only.
That's interesting.
The ones that still were great were, by the time they had to put it on, they've already worked from 10 years old all the way up without it. So like a Ross, like a Jack, like a Robbie, like a Willie, like those guys, right? So there is a little bit of that, after that group kind of went, it was a long gap before we saw some of the new breed really make a name for themselves. So I think there has to be a little bit of that, like the toughness, man. And the ones that did were all from where? NBL. Because that wasn't, a thing, so.
Well, here's what I will say is if there are things that are like an anomaly, right? Like, I don't care where you place Jason Borelli, he is an anomaly. Like what he does and how successful he is it doesn't make sense, right? To think that you're going to recreate that ever again. And I want to say it's impossible. It would be highly unlikely you'll see something like that. In the next like 10, 15, 20 years. I don't think it's ever going to happen, right? Because I think it's so rare. The way he fights, the way he is, the way just like him as a person and competitor. I just don't think that, right? I just think that like what that is, like you just don't see that again. So to try to quantify, right? Well,
what do you mean?
This is successful.
His style, or do you mean like someone that won everything within 2 years on forms?
Right, coach. He wasn't in the group. No, so coaches bringing it up.
Was in that group as well. Yeah,
that's why I brought him up.
Windsor was, all those guys came in and made an impact right from it because of them still being in that hard-hitting, intense group, So,
well, no, I don't like to do that because then you know what people do is they go, well, in the late 80s, we were hitting harder. Well, yeah, but you had to stand right in front of your fighter,
Yeah.
Once you
It's,
got to the mid 90s, like, oh, the distance like
yeah.
increased like a dramatic amount. Like you had to be well far away, you know? So I just think that like if you're talking about like, yeah, look at this group had more success. If you're putting someone like Jason Borelli in that group and then using the success of that group as a reason why they did anything, like that's not really fair because you're using this anomaly of a person as a
Right.
reason why this group has success. You know what I mean? But then look at the rest of the people in there. They're all freaking anomalies. Like you haven't seen anything like that since.
Right. I
So
still don't think you
maybe
said someone like,
now the face shield and chest guard thing. I had not thought about that. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I think it's a real thing, dude.
It
It
could
took
be
a
something to
while,
that.
and then the change of the sport and everything. Now, now all those young guys. I mean, recently you really look at it. This group of like Bailey, Ty, Enrique, all of them, they're like they're the last time we saw something like that was that group of like Jack and Willie and those guys, and then before that, that group of Raymond, Jason, Trevor.
What
You
was
know,
another good cluster of juniors that were really good?
well, it was to me, it was Thomas Wright, Peter Lunday, Jason Facey, that group, that 98, I think was their last year. So again, that group moved up and they all made a huge impact, all in the same division.
I mean, how about this? In 2005, Ross Levine and Damian Rodriguez were
Right.
both juniors.
Yep. Yep. To me though, the junior that made looking back at it, the two juniors that I remember in the 90s that everyone was looking forward to or really didn't want to see move into adults was two guys, Joe Rivera and Brian Roof. Those guys, because they were just hard hitting, they were dominating their divisions, and people didn't want to see them move up to adults. And yeah, oh, that's a good one, George. Yep. DD, Frank Jones, Jesse Ray. Yep.
I actually do remember another time. Actually, I take this back. I think I can't remember. It was the early 2000. It could have been 2000 or 2001 or two. Something of this. Might have been two. Where I think, and this one actually made sense because you looked at these two. They actually fought each other a fair amount. I think it was Mark Nadeau and Drew Stodgy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mark was just a legit martial artist. Did it all.
Yeah.
Did forms, weapons fighting,
Mark was
did the
good.
flying commas.
Yeah.
And Drew
One
would
of my
just
favorite flying comma competitors ever. Yeah.
yeah. And Drew would just literally enter tournaments where nobody would score on him.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Jessen as well. Jessen was from that same kind of era too.
Jessen Noviello.
Yeah. Yep.
Jessen, yeah, but however,
No,
Jessen Noviello, you knew the moment he hit adult, you were like, you're gonna get scored on quite a bit.
Speaking of while we just mentioned flying commas, we got to mention happy birthday to two of the best flying comma competitors ever. One was yesterday, one is today. So Edgar Cordova's birthday was yesterday. Today is Tim Conkle's birthday. So congrats to both those guys. Two of my best friends, two of my teammates, brothers. So congrats to those guys. I mean, congrats. Happy birthday to those guys. Yeah. Brian Roof. Yeah. I mean, to me, that guy was the guy. His first year in adult, he's knocking people out. He's dropping Drew Beatty his first year as an adult, who the year before was the most feared heavyweight, right? So,
but here's a perfect example. Okay. This is an example of when I talk about like the level, your level just keeps going up and up and up and up and up, right? As the years go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, does anybody really think that if you took Tyreek Saint and put him in 1998, he wouldn't have been one of the best fighters in the world? I just used a random, really good fighter's name today.
Yeah, right.
Okay. If you took Avery Plowden and plopped him in 1995, right? Do you think he loses anything? I think he loses 0 matches.
Yeah.
right? Now, I don't know. Depends on what
There's
side of
matchups though.
Anthony Price he
Yeah.
fights with, because that's a match where I could be like, "Ooh, he's got quite a bit of length and badassery." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could see something like that, but other than that, like I really don't see anything else, right? Like,
Yeah, it's just fighters. There aren't that fighter like a Trevor anymore, man. There's not that fighter like a
because what
Drew.
did you just say though? You're talking about an anomaly again.
Well, yeah, that's so. I mean, isn't Avery? I mean, it's,
Fair. All right.
I mean, you
No,
have
no, no,
to.
no, no, no.
You're
That's
talking about the greatest fighters of all time. So, I mean,
all
you
right. So
have to.
take a guy today. Let's just see if we can take a guy today who places like third or lower in their division.
Mm.
Okay.
So they beat Pedro, is what you're going to say.
Okay. The kid, Diego from Straight Up.
Yeah.
Super talented kid.
Oh yeah, super
right?
talented. Yeah.
Super talented. Amazingly skilled kid. I think if you plop him in the 90s, we talk about him as one of the greats.
Okay.
But he's not competing and winning his division right now, right?
Right.
All right, but he is crazy talented, right?
No, he is. He is.
But that's what I mean. Like he can do things
It's just
at
different,
a space
man.
and a distance and a
It's just
skill
hard.
level. It's just hard. Yeah, there's going to be matchups that some people are going to look at and be like, I got to bust this kid down, right? Because that's what you do. That's what you do against someone who is more skilled than you, who's faster than you, who could do things that you just don't know what to do about. You got to
Right.
bust them down, right? You got to slow them down, right? So that's the thing, right? That's what people used to do to try to do to Ray. And I don't want to bring him up every single moment of this show,
Yeah.
but even then, he would look at people and be like, "I'm too fast for you, man.
Yeah.
That's not
I'm
going to
too
work,
fast. That's not going to work.
right?
What do
That's not going to work."
Yeah.
So take a guy. I just randomly used Diego. Boom, put him in there. I think the skill level just keeps going up. However,
Yeah.
I think I don't know, man. I want to really think about that face guard, chest guard thing.
I'm telling you, it has some legs. It makes sense. All
I
right.
need to start taking off my kids' stuff when they fight. He's 5.
All right. Sport karate confessions. You want me to do my man?
I mean, we're kind of overdue. Do it. I did mine.
I know, but so mine's different. Mine is like I haven't really touched it. I've kind of edged around it, right? These 5 years, I've kind of, tiptoed between the tulips to not really make it a big deal.
It's 5 years.
But we're, that we've been on the show, right? So,
Oh, okay.
so when you look at myself and me as a competitor, and if you didn't know that John Valera was my instructor, right?
You wouldn't know.
And you said, all right, Jeff, let me guess which of those 3, Carmichael, Mike Chat, and John Valera, were
People
your
would think,
favorites, right? What would most
people
people probably think?
they would think it was be Mike
Why?
because of the way that Mike kicks and the way your kicking ability is.
Right. But
in reality, Carmichael was everyone's favorite.
At first, yeah, most people.
Yes, it was. He was your favorite. Don't lie.
No. At first, but it was different because Carmichael was doing juniors for a while John and Mike were doing the adults, and then
true.
Right. So, but to me, it was John, and actually, as a junior, even before that, when I watched like
when John was a junior,
1990, 1989, 1991, John was my favorite, right?
Yeah.
But John also was became my coach, but he also was under my lineage, right? He was directly from American Freestyle. And so and he was only an hour away from me. So there was that, right? But for a long time, I didn't really have a lot of kind things to say to Mike Chat or about Mike Chat. And a lot of that had to do with things growing up. People didn't really know that for me, if you would have said like my favorite team growing up, I had 2 teams. All right. I would probably say Metro, but also DKT Force One, right? And DKT Force One
tough.
was probably my favorite team as a kid until
Well, you had a lot of people that were close to you in proximity.
yeah,
That
but
were
that was
on
before that.
Force
That was
One.
before that. I'm just going to explain why I'd never joined them because I got asked to come to the training camp and everything. And I didn't, and at 10 years old, I chose not
I know
to
this.
because my coach was John Valera, and one of the reasons why he got kicked off or had to leave DKT was because they didn't like him hanging out with Mike Chat. They didn't like him, being friends with someone from another team. And that was something that was told to me. So I just said, well, I don't want to deal with that. Right. Now,
Whoa.
could that have been misconstrued as a junior or as a kid? Yes. So in my mind, as what, 10-year-olds, 11-year-old, John left the team or got kicked off the team because of his friendship with Mike Chat, right? So
That's 100% what you thought.
there's what I thought, and I'm gonna tell you the reason why as a kid I didn't, and then now the way I look back as an adult and understand, so I don't want to be like, and so as that happened, things moved on there. So I literally, like, my instructor and his son, everyone went and tried out Sean Elliott, and they wanted me to go and do all this as well and try. And I said no. So
you didn't even want to go to the training.
No. So because of that, right? So I was just one of those stubborn kids, and my mom supported me as well with that too. So there was that, right? And then we have years later, my mom is setting up at tournaments. Her and Mike become good friends because she is selling his custom commas, right?
Your mom sold his custom commas?
Yeah, at her booth. So because
I had a pair of those,
right? So the whole time that's happening, John is my coach. Mike continuously would tell me, "Hey, you need to come learn from me. You need to come learn from me." That turned
Chat
me
was
off.
saying that to you?
Yeah. So that turned me off.
Whoa. I didn't know this. Time out.
Yeah.
Valera's your coach.
Right.
Meanwhile, Chat's coming up to you and be like, "Hey, if you really want to do, you got to come train with me. I'll make you."
Right. Because he's like, you're a kicker like me and everything else, and so, you know what, that was just the way it was. And I've told people this for years, that
I'm learning about this for the first time.
Yeah. So that was it. Now, again, do I think that maybe, again, looking back at it as a kid, I was probably looking into it too much and thought of it as the wrong thing? He was probably just talking to me. Looking back now, I think, hey, if you're interested, we could always do it. I'll talk to John or whatever. I can help you with this or that. Now, was he ever like mean to me or whatever? No.
Yeah.
But later on, it was weird because now, like, we don't talk.
Now you're good.
Now we don't talk when I see him at AKA or whatever. Like, it's just a weird, awkward thing, right? So that is one of those funny sport karate.
Why is it weird? Why is it
so
weird?
To me, it was, so in my mind is like, dude, I know that John sees you as a great friend. Now, again, I don't know all that. I don't know their relationship, especially those guys. And he left DKT because of this and this and that. And maybe I had that story wrong, right? But that was what I thought as a kid. So that's why I feel like it's a funny sport karate confession, is that the person that most people think that I would and maybe would love more would be Mike Chat than any of them, and it's John Valera, and that's the reason why, is because to me, I didn't like the way, to me, he disrespected my coach in that, years ago, right? So I look at it as that way. And so now, why is it weird now? I have no idea. I think maybe he knew that I didn't like that, and maybe I told one of his students that years ago that I never really appreciated.
You got to break the ice.
Oh, I know, but it's not like I see him.
How are you going to do it though? Because you're going to see him in Chicago, right?
Yeah, and I'll just say, hey, what's up, man?
In 2 months, you're going to see him.
It's been a long time, but he wasn't there last year, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think he was. I think he was supposed to be, but he wasn't.
Well, this is
you got to do something funny and be like,
and then
just
forward, right?
Stop, because you know how it works in tournaments where you're just walking or someone's sitting there and then you just kind of walk near them. You gotta go, Mike. What's happening? How you doing, Mike? Remember when you were gonna coach me, in forms because you were like a great kicker? Remember when I turned? Isn't that funny how I turned out to be a better kicker than you? Isn't that funny?
Hey, I'm not just easy there.
No,
Easy.
No, well, listen.
But,
I still think Mike Chat's great. I think Mike Chat's even better than you think he is. But
well, he is. And I'm going to tell you one thing about Mike Chat though. For weapons, for commas, I would put him over Valera on commas.
he just
I
did.
would.
He wasn't. Here's
would.
why I will agree with you, because Valera had the better comma performances, but Mike was better at commas.
Right.
Did that make sense the way I said that?
Yeah.
All right.
John
had the better forms. John had the better forms, but Mike was better at commas.
And truthfully, a lot of my roles and my manipulations came from a lot of, the stuff I saw Mike do. So so there's that. So that's me confessing on that part too. But yeah, so I can't believe you didn't know that or ever never picked that up.
That was a cool confession.
The way of where, and again, people make, man, you shouldn't have said, whatever. It's all good, So, all right. Make sure you guys go K-Talk. It's not this upcoming week. No, 2 weeks. We have K-Talk coming up. Maybe we'll get someone from New York on next week, but also maybe USA Sport Karate. Actually, Damon, we're probably going to try to get on as well. So he has a lot of, big things that Sport Karate USA is trying to do. So it's pretty exciting right now with what's going on.
One of the other things I was just thinking about since you brought up K-Talk and, a couple weeks, we're coming into the holidays, man. It's New York around Christmas time. Come on, man.
Right.
It's like this. Doesn't that just make you feel like this is the place to be?
Well, I know I'm excited for that. I'm also excited for same thing with Toronto. I'm excited to be. I mean, it's going to be cold, but like Christmas in Toronto with all the crazy stuff going on. I mean, it's going to be fun. So
wait, whoa, stop. You're going to be there for Christmas?
No. December 15th. Like it's like a week before Christmas, right? Is when Toronto International Championship.
Yeah, it's the 14th and 15th, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
13th, 14th.
13th, 14th. Yeah.
13th,
so 12, I'll be there from the 12th to the 15th. So I mean, a week before Christmas. It's going to be a lot of holiday stuff going on. It's going to be fun. So, but yeah. All right. This is a fun episode.
Yo, thanks for opening for me. That was it was an interesting one. I mean, it was good. It was good business. It was just really stinks that it got pushed that close. But what you gonna do?
It happens, man. It happens.
Yep. This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week.